In the glare of studio lights, where truths bend like shadows, a Hollywood icon steps onto a stage that promises revelation but delivers reckoning. What secrets would he guard tonight, and at what cost? The set pulsed under the warm amber glow of overhead spots, casting long shadows across the plush armchairs arranged in a semicircle. A massive LED screen loomed behind, flickering with clips of rolling waves and dusty Texas roads, subtle nods to the guests' roots. Props were minimal, a low glass table holding water glasses and a stack of glossy magazines, their covers screaming headlines about fame's underbelly. The air hummed with the low buzz of pre-show energy, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the faint metallic tang of electronics. He entered with a stride that was both deliberate and effortless, his tall frame clad in a tailored linen shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal a silver necklace glinting against tanned skin. Matthew McConaughey's boots clicked softly on the polished floor, a micro-movement of his hand adjusting his cufflink betraying a flicker of unease beneath his trademark grin, charming yet guarded, like a man who reveled in the spotlight but loathed its intrusions. His eyes, sharp and green, scanned the audience with a contradictory warmth, inviting connection while erecting invisible walls. Whoopi Goldberg leaned forward in her chair, her dreadlocks swaying slightly as she extended a hand. "Matthew, welcome back to the show, it's been too long. What's the one thing Hollywood still doesn't get about you?" He settled into the seat opposite, crossing his legs with casual grace. "Whoopi, darlin', they think I'm just all right, but there's layers, you know. Like an onion in the Texas sun." His voice carried a calm drawl, edged with something sharper, staking out the moral ground. Fame was a game, but privacy was sacred. The conversation flowed easy at first, like a lazy river on a summer day. Whoopi chuckled, her eyes twinkling under the lights. "So tell us about this new film. It's got you playing a rogue astronaut again. Space seems to call you." Matthew nodded, his smile genuine. "Yeah, it's about chasing the unknown, pushing boundaries. Kinda like life, right? You gotta launch yourself sometimes." The audience murmured approval, a wave of soft applause rippling through the rows. But what boundary would he refuse to cross tonight? As the segment progressed, Whoopi steered toward lighter topics, the quirks of filming in zero gravity, his love for vintage cars. Matthew engaged fully, his anecdotes laced with that philosophical bent, quoting Camus one moment and cracking a self-deprecating joke the next. The crew hovered off stage, producers and headsets exchanging nods, the energy in the room buoyant. But then, a pivot. "Matthew, you've been open about your wild younger days. That arrest back in '99, bongos and all. How does that square with the family man image now?" His jaw tightened imperceptibly, but he leaned back, exhaling slowly. "Ancient history, Whoopi. We all evolve. I've got kids now, that's my orbit." The audience shifted, sensing the subtle tension. A producer whispered into her earpiece, gesturing subtly from the wings, "Keep it going, ratings are spiking." Whoopi pressed on, her charisma undimmed but now laced with intent. "Fair enough, but fans want the real you. Your marriage, rumors swirl about the pressures of Hollywood. Care to set the record straight?" Matthew's eyes narrowed, his fingers drumming lightly on the armrest, a micro-movement revealing the storm beneath. "Respectfully, Whoopi, some things are off the table. My family's my sanctuary." Camera close up on Matthew's face, the flicker of restraint. The exchange hung in the air, the studio falling into a hush broken only by a few uneasy laughs from the crowd. Whoopi tilted her head, her motivation clear. The show thrived on raw moments, and this guest was gold for viewership. "Come on, Matthew, we're all friends here. Your book's full of life lessons, why hold back on the personal ones?" He paused, sipping water, his dignified poise cracking just enough to show the layers. A man who'd built an empire on authenticity but drew lines in the sand for what mattered most. Would the host cross that line, or would the guest draw it deeper? Tension coiled tighter as the interview delved deeper. Matthew deflected with grace at first, steering back to his philanthropy, environmental causes, his foundation for at-risk youth. "It's about giving back, Whoopi. That's the real script." But she circled, her questions sharpening like a blade. Speaking of scripts, your co-stars often rave about your intensity. Any truth to those on-set romance whispers? The audience gasped softly, murmurs rising like steam. A crew member adjusted a light, casting harsher shadows across the set. Matthew's reactions peeled back his values: dignity in the face of spectacle, a refusal to feed the machine. Whoopi, I admire your fire, but let's keep it professional. My past is public record, my present ain't for sale. Producers paced backstage, one mouthing, push it, to another. The personal stake was evident. This episode could go viral. The host leaned in, her bias toward unfiltered truth shining through. Matthew, in this town, privacy's a myth. Why not own it? Murmurs from the audience swelling to a low rumble. He shifted in his seat, the charismatic host's persistence wearing on him. The air thickened, the once warm opening now a battlefield of words. Secondary figures intervened subtly, a stagehand offering water, a producer signaling for a commercial break, but Whoopi waved it off. One more thing, your father's passing, how did that shape you? Fans connect through vulnerability. Matthew's face hardened, the edge in his voice turning steel. That's sacred ground. Not fodder for ratings. How much more could he take before the breaking point? The escalation built like a gathering storm. Whoopi, sensing the shift, doubled down with a mix of empathy and probe. I get it, Matthew, I've been there. But sharing heals. Your kids, do they see the man or the myth? The audience leaned forward, their reactions amplifying the drama, whispers of too far mixing with eager anticipation. Crew members froze, the control room a frenzy of monitors tracking spikes in engagement. Matthew's layered depth shone through, reactions not of anger but principled restraint. Whoopi, you're a legend, but this ain't about healing, it's about spectacle. My family's off limits. His motivation clashed with hers for the raw, unscripted moment that boosted her show's legacy, his for preserving the quiet dignity amid the chaos of fame. Producers tensed, one stepping closer to the stage edge, ready to intervene. The tone turned personal, the mild questions long abandoned. Come on, spill that Oscar speech about chasing your hero. Was that your dad, or something deeper? Matthew exhaled sharply, his hands gripping the armrests. The audience's murmurs grew louder, a chorus of unease and thrill. In the silence that followed, what words would ignite the fire? As the mini-climax loomed, the studio felt electric. Whoopi pressed one final time. Matthew, the world admires your journey. But hiding parts of it, doesn't that cheat your fans? His eyes met hers, a storm brewing. The crew held their breath, producers whispering furiously. Audience members shifted uncomfortably, their collective energy feeding the tension. Matthew rose slowly, his movements deliberate, ripping the microphone from his lapel with a sharp tug. The decisive action echoed through the set, a powerful cliffhanger that silenced the room. Enough, he said, voice steady but thunderous. I'm done here. What chaos would erupt in the wake of his stand? The camera captured the moment in stark detail. Matthew turning toward the exit, Whoopi's expression a mix of shock and calculation. Producers rushed forward, but he was already striding offstage, the audience erupting into a cacophony of gasps and applause. The set descended into controlled pandemonium, lights flickering as if in protest. Backstage, the fallout began immediately, crew members scrambling, Whoopi calling after him. But the damage was done, the interview shattered. The moral undercurrent pulsed, dignity under pressure, the cost of pushing boundaries for entertainment. Yet in that charged air, the question lingered unspoken: had the host gone too far, or was the guest too guarded? The show's legacy hung in the balance, ratings be damned. And as the doors swung shut behind him, who would face the consequences first? The segment cut to commercial abruptly, the screen fading to black amid the chaos. Whoopi sat stunned, her charismatic facade cracking for a split second. Producers huddled, damage control in full swing. Matthew's exit wasn't just an action, it was a statement, a line drawn in the sands of spectacle. As the audience buzzed, their reactions a mirror to the drama, some cheering his stand, others decrying the lost revelations, the tension refused to dissipate. The warm opening had twisted into something raw, exposing the fragility of public personas. But in the shadows offstage, what words waited to be spoken? The escalation had peaked, the mini-climax delivering its blow. Matthew's decisive stand, ripping the mic and leaving, left the studio in stunned silence, compelling the story forward. What repercussions would follow? The cliffhanger action hung heavy, a promise of reckoning. The studio doors slammed shut behind Matthew McConaughey, their echo swallowed by the roar of a stunned audience. In that fleeting silence, a question burned: would his stand reshape the narrative, or shatter it entirely? Camera wide shot, capturing the chaotic studio, crew scrambling, audience buzzing. Backstage, the air was thick with urgency. Producers clustered around monitors, replaying the moment Matthew tore off his mic, their faces a mix of panic and opportunity. Whoopi Goldberg remained on stage, her charismatic mask slipping as she addressed the crowd. "Folks, that's live TV, raw and real. We'll be right back." Her voice held steady, but her eyes darted to the wings, searching for a cue. A stagehand whispered updates. Social media was erupting, hashtags like McConaughey Walkout trending within minutes. But what storm awaited beyond the studio walls? Matthew paced a dimly lit hallway, his boots thudding against concrete. A young assistant, barely 20, approached cautiously, offering a bottle of water. "Mr. McConaughey, you okay?" He nodded, his jaw tight, but his voice softened. "Just needed air, kid. Sometimes the spotlight's too damn heavy." The assistant hesitated, then blurted, "People are talking already. They're with you." Matthew's lips twitched, a half-smile, layered with exhaustion and resolve. His values shone through. Dignity wasn't just a word, it was a shield. Outside, the consequences unfolded like wildfire. Clips of the walkout flooded X, fans and critics clashing in real time. Some praised his defense of privacy. "A man's gotta have boundaries," while others decried his exit as arrogance. "He owes us the truth," one post screamed, racking up thousands of likes. The public reaction split sharply, mirroring the studio's tension. Half admired his stand, half craved the spectacle. Could one man's exit rewrite the rules of fame? Back in the studio, Whoopi regrouped, her motivation, ratings and relevance, pushing her forward. She returned post-commercial with a disarming laugh. "Well, that was unexpected. Let's talk about it. What do y'all think?" The audience responded eagerly, their murmurs now a chorus of opinions. A woman in the front row shouted, "He's right. Leave his family alone." Another countered, "Come on, he's a star. Spill the tea." The crew fed off the energy, producers signaling to keep the cameras rolling. Offstage, Matthew fielded a call from his wife, Camila. Her voice was calm but firm. "You did right, babe. They don't get to own us." He exhaled, leaning against the wall, the weight of her words grounding him. "Thanks, darlin'. Just hate feed in the circus." Their exchange underscored the moral. Privacy was a sanctuary worth defending, even at the cost of public adoration. Yet how long could that sanctuary hold against the world's hunger? The fallout intensified as the show continued. Whoopi pivoted to lighter topics, but the audience's energy remained electric, their reactions amplifying every beat. A producer slipped her a note. "Keep it trending, address the walkout." She nodded subtly, then leaned forward, her tone reflective. "Look, Matthew's a private guy. Maybe we pushed too hard. What's the line between curiosity and respect?" The question hung, a nod to the moral undercurrent, but her charisma kept the crowd hooked. Meanwhile, Matthew slipped out a side exit, the night air cool against his skin. Paparazzi swarmed, their flashes like gunfire. He shielded his face, climbing into a waiting SUV. The driver, a grizzled New Yorker, glanced back. "Rough night, huh? They're vultures out there." Matthew chuckled dryly. "Always are. Just trying to keep what's mine." The car pulled away, leaving the chaos behind, but the weight of the moment lingered. Camera flashes, distant shouts fading. Would the world respect his stand, or demand more? Online, the narrative spiraled. A viral post from a prominent critic read, McConaughey's Walkout exposes the ugly side of talk shows, pushing for drama at any cost. Supporters flooded the comments, but detractors fired back. He's dodging accountability. Whoopi's team leaned into the controversy, tweeting a poll. Did Matthew overreact, or was he right to walk? Vote now! Engagement soared, proving her stake in the spectacle. Controversy was currency. In a quiet hotel room hours later, Matthew scrolled through the posts, his face lit by the phone's glow. A text from his agent buzzed. You're the talk of the town. Damage control? He typed back. No. Let it ride. His defiance was clear, but doubt crept in. Had he burned bridges, or built a legacy? The moral lesson crystallized. Dignity under pressure came at a price, but it was one he'd pay. But what price would the industry exact in return? The next morning, headlines screamed, McConaughey storms off Whoopi's show! Some outlets painted him as a hero of principle, others, a diva dodging scrutiny. Whoopi addressed the fallout on air, her tone softer but unapologetic. We ask tough questions because fans want truth. But maybe truth starts with respect. The audience clapped, though some shifted uncomfortably, sensing the deflection. Producers beamed, ratings were through the roof. Matthew, now back in Texas, stood on his porch, watching his kids play in the yard. The simplicity of the moment clashed with the media storm still raging. A neighbor, unaware of the drama, called out, Hey Matt, saw your movie, great stuff. He grinned, the normalcy a bomb. But his phone buzzed again, a producer from the show, offering an olive branch. Come back. Let's talk it out. He declined politely, his resolve unshaken. Could a single stand ripple beyond one night? The catharsis came quietly, not in the studio's glare but in the choices that followed. Matthew doubled down on his foundation, announcing a new initiative for at-risk youth, redirecting the spotlight to purpose. Whoopi's show thrived on the drama, but her next episode included a segment on privacy in the digital age, a subtle nod to the lesson learned. The audience, still divided, debated fiercely online, their reactions a mirror to the human cost of spectacle. Soft wind, children's laughter in the distance. Whose story would the world remember most? Weeks later, the storm had settled, but its echoes lingered. Matthew sat with his family, watching the sunset, his hand resting on Camila's. The world had moved on to new scandals, but his stand had sparked a conversation about boundaries, about respect, about the toll of fame. Whoopi, too, reflected in private, her charisma tempered by a rare moment of self-doubt. Had she crossed a line, or simply played the game? The moral stood clear. Dignity under pressure was a fragile victory, one not in applause but in quiet resolve. Yet the open question lingered, a challenge to all who'd watched the drama unfold. Who was right? Tell us below. And in the end, whose truth would you defend?